All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders, the elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, to the men on the highways and byways that are pushing out this word in truth and sincerity, and to the remnant men, women, and children of the elect. You all, I say Shalom. My name is Ahyash, and I'm back with another lesson through the power and the spirit of Yahawashi. Lord willing, this is edifying. I just wanted to report on some news, some updates in the spirit, man. With all of these prophecies coming to pass and all of the events that lead up to them, it's important that we continue to, be those watchmen for the elect, report on the news, and again, the events that are leading up to these major prophecies that are getting ready to take place. This article that I have pulled up here is from NBC News, and if you notice, it's a lot of talk about insurrections, martial law, basically the collapsing of society, this side versus that side, the infighting that we've been reporting on, especially this year. We've seen a lot of it this year, even starting going back to the time of the election late last year in 2024, leading into 2025, when DJ Trump took office. It's difficult to remember a time when the left and the right, the Democrats and Republicans, were fighting like the tensions were this high, and they were, you know what I mean? Like they were fighting. They were this much on the opposing side. I mean, obviously, they are opposing sides, but the spirit of these two sides and where things are headed, it's difficult to remember a time to see it this far apart. And again, it just speaks to Bible prophecy. It speaks to the infighting. It speaks to all the things that the prophets and the men of the Lord, starting with the elders and apostles of Great Millstone on down, have been talking about and warning you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans on everything. It almost seems like every day there's an event that takes place that feeds these prophecies, But again, this is just for the believers. So when we do these videos, this is who we're sending out these epistles to. Okay, this is for the elect. These are for the believers. All right, there's men and women are waking up every single day. The Lord is sealing His elect, and our message for those who believe. So this article again is from NBC News. This says Trump administration officials seriously discussing invoking Insurrection Act, sources say. All right, it says a decision isn't expected to be imminent. One source said, but debate within the administration has shifted recently to a more deeply explore. But debate within the administration has shifted recently to more deeply exploring how and when the act might be invoked. Okay. It says here, White House officials have held increasingly serious discussions in recent days about President Donald Trump's invoking the Insurrection Act, a rarely used 19th century law that gives the president power to deploy active duty troops inside the United States for law enforcement purposes. 5 people with knowledge of the talks told NBC News. Trump has sought to deploy National Guard troops in several major cities, including Los Angeles, Chicago, and Portland, or Oregon, saying that they are needed to reduce crime and protect immigration and custom enforcement officials from protesters, and that immigration and custom enforcement is more commonly known as ICE. Critics have said the Trump administration is exaggerating issues in those cities, and that's kind of where a lot of the infighting is coming from. A lot of times when you see these acts get invoked, you see these what do you call them? When you see these executive orders and things of that nature, when they come about, a lot of times it comes from these so-called it's like I'm drawing a blank It's the end of the day at work, man. I had a long day, but false flag. All right, ops, and they do this for they do this purposely, and they do this for the sake of gaining political ground and to shift the narrative in their favor, to fulfill whatever agenda is on the table at the moment, right? And we know that they want to cause chaos. You know, if you heard of the term auto ab chaos, right? They want to incite chaos so that they could bring about order and control control the narrative. You know what I mean? That's really what auto ab chaos is. You know, there's a problem reaction solution side of it as well. So to this point in this part of the article where it says Trump has sought to deploy National Guard troops in several major cities, including Los Angeles, Chicago, and Portland, Oregon, saying that they are needed to reduce crime and protect immigration and custom enforcement officials from protesters. Critics have said the Trump administration is exaggerating issues in those cities, and we've seen the exaggeration of it. We've seen what, you know, the statistics don't support what this man is trying to do. You don't really see these really big riots and things that Trump is saying, like all the crime that he's saying and these big riots and this, that, and the third. You'll see them implement, and because a lot of times when you see these big rallies and protests, and you see some of these incidents happen, a lot of this stuff is staged, you know, so that they can go ahead and introduce and invoke an insurrection act or come down with some sort of executive order that will justify mobilizing military and these different law enforcement agencies to go into these cities and do what they do, you know. So you got to always keep in mind that this is something that you had to keep in mind that this is something that these people are used to doing. You know, this is the same old play from them. This is nothing new. They've done this many times over, and it's nothing new. So again, we got to keep our eye on these things and watch this man and how he moves, because there's going to come a point in time where things are going to really look unrecognizable in society when it just comes to just simply, you know, people in their day-to-day actions and moving about how they move about, the freedom to go from city to city, and that's scriptural. Scriptures say, a man shall desire to go into a city, shall not be able. And I'm gonna get that in a second, but that's what we're going to see happen at some point in time. All right. It says here, decision to invoke the act is not expected to be imminent. A senior administration official said, were it to happen, it would be a notable escalation. The Guard is currently deployed in limited support roles, since active duty members of military are forbidden from conducting civilian law enforcement actions such as conducting searches and making arrests. But the Insurrection Act allows the president to deploy troops inside the U.S. states for that purpose, and that's what they're going to do. At some point, they're going to defy the law. It's not going to be something that what's written and people know as the law. That's going to be out of the window at some point. You know, they're not going to need to justify the acts. They're not going to need any sort of justification or any acts of Congress or any sign off or anything. When Esau really comes with that shit, when he come down with great draft, it's not going to be about the law. It's not going to be about anything. It's just going to be him coming down and the devil coming down with great wrath. Okay, because he knows that he have it for but a short time, and it's not going to be about the law, what the books say, and what's written in courts and judges, and you know, it's not going to be about any of that. Okay, scriptures say this man has framed mischief by law. So let me get that real quick. Psalms, I believe it's 94 and 20. Yep, it says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law? This man is going to frame mischief and cause all types of chaos in these cities by law. So you can use the Insurrection Act to justify mobilizing and bringing troops into these cities, and obviously at this point there ain't no real even true reason for it. Okay, but they can create a reason for it. They can create these false operations to happen, and create chaos. That's what this man is good at. He's good at creating chaos. This is not anything difficult for him. All right, this is what he does, and people will believe it, because when shit is going down, people don't have the sense or the wherewithal to consider who's doing it. They're just worried about what's actually happening. If you see some shit on fire, you see people looting, rioting, you see rallies and protests, you're gonna just wonder why. You're gonna look to the news, see what's happening, and just kind of go with it. That's how docile. That's the sheep mentality. And that's all we've ever seen from the people here in Babylon the Great. This ain't new. This is normal, man. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 10, verse 1. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. You know what I'm saying? But the NOT said, what sorrow awaits the unjust judges, and those who issue unfair laws. Right? The Insurrection Act is an unfair law. It's an unrighteous decree. And this is just the beginning of it. Right? This man don't give no shit about you people, especially so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, because again, the time's coming where there ain't gonna be no covering. There ain't gonna be no 911 to call. This is something I say all the time. At some point, the police gonna need to call the police, because the people who work for these law enforcement agencies, it's gonna be going down. Their lives are not gonna be, their family are not gonna be safe from the things that are going on. A lot of these people are gonna turn around, and a lot of these cops and firemen and these hospital workers, employees, they gonna turn their ass right around and go home and take and watch over their family. They ain't gonna be worried about the chaos that's going on the street. They're gonna be concerned with their family. 1 Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Yeah, that's sudden destruction, and this is something that we always talking about. It being sudden is key, because right now, again, ain't nothing going on. Everything is, when I say nothing going on, I mean people are able to go about their lives as normal as they do. Right? There's not a real sense of urgency just in their face. Right? People are not rioting and looting, and people still can go to the grocery stores. People can still go to the bank and take money out the bank. People can still live their normal lives at this point. But suddenly, what's going to happen is sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travaileth upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. There's not going to be anything that you're going to be able to do once Esau comes down with that hammer for real. So this is why it's important for the men of the Lord to do this work, and to constantly remind you that you can't really rest for a second. You can't sleep on this man. You have to stay on point and on top of the prophecies and the things that are happening, because if you don't, then you're going to get caught off guard. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's really important. You don't want to get caught off guard. All right. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And there shall be sedition among men, invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able. When you have men on the street, when you have military, look at this video. I'm not going to play it, but Look at what it says. It says National Guard deployment battle intensifies, and you see these National Guard, these people, they're ready. They're ready to go into these cities, okay, and do what they do, and do what they're told, honestly, and do what they're told, which is to bring order, right? When chaos ensues, they bring order. And again, it's a controlled demolition. You know what I'm saying? It's a controlled demolition. They're going to bring down the house on their own, right? They don't need anybody to do it. They can create chaos on their own. Problem, reaction, solution. They can create the problem, wait for the reaction, and have the solution prepared. That's what he does. You've seen that with the C-19. All right, and it's not going to be any different. The play ain't going to be different. Now, again, we don't want to act like we know Esau's every single move, but a lot of times he shows you. And the Lord says, before I show you things, what does it say? Salaki, I don't want to butcher the scripture. Isaiah 42:9, it says, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. So again, we don't know exactly every single move of Esau, Edom, but the Lord is showing us through these events, through these kings and these princes. He's showing us, he's allowing them to speak and say things that alarm us, that give us that wake-up call, so that we understand. And then when these things happen in Congress, we see these laws pass, we see, you know, these men get up in these summits and they talk about their plans and talking about who the real enemy is, and they start declaring citizens of this country domestic terrorists. When you hear and see these things, these are the warnings, man. These are the signs that you have to watch for, and it's nothing to take lightly, man. It's something to watch and be careful of, because once they start claiming you to be a terrorist, right? Then what? Then what? You know, this guy is setting up the infrastructure and putting everything in place where they could just go into these cities and round people up, throw them in the concentration camps, haul them off to shipping stations and things of that nature, because that's what's on the horizon, man. At some point, you know, this man don't got no good plan set for the people. He got destruction and chaos set. You know, because ultimately it's that micro C hit, man, at the end of the day. So when you see things like this happen, you can't take it lightly. You can't take what this man says and just brush it off. He don't have that type of spirit on him. And this is the devil that the Bible speaks of, right? And also the devil in these last days, which is important to acknowledge. We're in the last days of the last days. You know what I mean? And this man knoweth that he had but a short time. The Lord said he ain't gonna allow this man enterprise to take place. And Esau feel his infrastructure, he feels his power structure failing. He see all these things happening. He's seen the chariots of the Lord. He's seen all things in the sky. He see the prophets waking up. He see prophecies. Like Esau's watching, like we're watching, but we have a spiritual insight. They have a carnal insight where they can see certain things, and they have, you know, these meetings and these summits and these groups, and they're having councils among one another, you know, because the power is in their hand to do so, and they see it on a different level. So they about to come with that shit, that new world order beast system, that he's coming. All right. And because he's coming that way, he's gonna, you know, really put his foot down and come with that great wrath. Verse 17 says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods, because of lack of bread and great tribulation. And it's gonna be chaos on top of chaos, anarchy on top of anarchy. It's gonna get bad out here. It's gonna get bad out here again. So this is just something else to prophesy about. This is something else to report on. The Wadi Yahawashi Shai, for the eyes to see and the ears to hear, for prophecy, you know. And again, just another day closer. All right, so I'm gonna close it there. I hope you were edified. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahashim Yahawashi, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders, the elder bishop, the great millstone, who will well. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.